Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
All right, Blake, it finally happened. We have real Pistons offseason news. I know it's just the second round of the draft, but the draft being 2 nights was interesting. The Pistons do make a selection there at 37. They don't trade. They don't do anything differently. So before we get into the actual pick, I was curious, what were your thoughts on the draft being 2 days instead of just 1?
I like the 2-day draft just because I know the real reason for it is to give these teams like time to reset, more time for trades to work out. But when the first round ends, like I think it ended around 11 o'clock on Wednesday night, like I am more than fine just calling it there for the night, letting things reset, and then coming back for 30 more picks. I mean, I love the draft, so like I'm a fan of stretching it out. I can get why people would want it just to be wrapped up and over with in one night, but I like the new format, and it gives some additional players like some much more, time to shine. They get their own green room and their own kind of broadcast there, so I enjoy it.
Real quick, shout out Mimsy313 saying Star Wars needs to come up with another Knights of the Old Republic game soon. I'm shouting this out because I'm actually playing through that game, a remastered version of it on the Nintendo Switch right now, and it is a good time. I'm enjoying it. It's difficult. I'm struggling with it because that's not my usual type of game. A little bit of a kind of like a D&D style RPG sort of thing, but it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, so loving it. Go Pistons for sure. The thing with the 2-day draft, to me, like I get it from a perspective on the team side of things. Like you said, kind of reset, let everyone get a night of sleep, kind of come up with different strategies for what you want to do for round 2. But the thing is, there just aren't a ton of players that get drafted in round 2 that are legit rotation guys for the league. So it's a little bit different than, say, the NFL draft, where, I mean, even on day 2, sometimes even early on day 3 of the NFL draft, you could have guys that come and become like not even just role type guys, but legit very good, very important players for their teams. So I think if the NBA wants to do it this way, and ultimately, as nice as it is from a team perspective, you got to think a lot of this is TV purposes. I mean, both rounds went longer than they ever used to as well. So you got more ad revenue, more ad time, presumably more eyes on the TV. All that stuff is great. I think if you're going to do it 2 days, how about we just like cut it off at pick 20, maybe. And then you do the last 10 picks of the first round and then the entire second round as well, right? In that day 2. So that there's more reason for you as a viewer, like unless you were a Pistons fan, to see your pick literally make your team literally make their first pick of the entire event at pick 37. If that's not your team, the second round's not appointment viewing. I think most people would be aware of that at this point. Like this would be the second round in the NBA draft is more akin to clearing your calendar to make sure you watch rounds 6 and 7 in the NFL draft. It's just not the same. So like as exciting as some of these players are, as hopeful as we are that some of these guys can become role players, especially new Piston Chaz Lanier, if you're going to make it a 2-day thing, you got to give people a reason to tune in. So maybe having the last 10 picks of the first round and then like a longer 20 half-hour break to have more TV time, more discussion about everything that happened, kind of build up the suspense, and then do round 2. That might work a little bit better. So because I didn't love the fact that the second round is its own thing. It probably shouldn't be from a viewing perspective.
That's fair. I think if you were to break up the first round, like the issue with that would just be guys in the more guys in the green room who fall and have some awkward nights. But I guess that happens like in the NFL too.
Guys falling in the green room makes for some good TV.
It does.
Hate to say it.
It definitely does. Was interesting about this year's 2-day draft is last year was the first year it happened, and last year you had the big storyline of Bronny James in the second round. So that's sort of what everyone was tuning in for. I mean, not everyone. Like, I think the second round is definitely for it, like you said, if your team is picking up at the top of the draft, or like draft sickos, which like I consider myself to be. So I enjoy it, but I understand a lot of people who are tuning in might not even know who some guys in the first round are, that are getting taken. So I get it. And also the league moved the second round to like a prime time, like night slot last year. I believe it started late afternoon, like 4 or something like that. So I wonder if they'll change that. And also another thing that Bobby Marks and I think Bob Myers brought up on the second round broadcast is like teams love it because they're obviously not done when the draft is over. All the undrafted free agents, getting guys on filling your two-way spots, bringing guys in for training camp, summer league, what have you. So I think it's here to stay. I enjoy it. The main thing like I need the draft to fix is the hats. Like we need trades to be official sooner. And like I don't pay attention to hockey really, but like when free agency opens, like the Red Wings will post that they officially signed a player like right when it happens. In the NBA trades have to wait until like the league year changes over. And I know this is like much more complicated than I think it is, but my understanding of it is these trades can't become official because the league year doesn't start until like for a few more days. So
That
like
is correct.
why don't we just change that date? Like move it up a few days. I know it's probably more complex than that, but like it just seems like an easy solve to me.
I do think so. Like that, the hat thing. The problem is the league year. Gosh, why can't I say that? The problem is the league year. Okay, so the fact that it's not a new league year means that the trades can't become official. Blah blah blah. So that's why you can't do the hat thing because the draft is an official event. Whatever. I wouldn't hate if instead of having draft and free agency, they pushed the draft back and they did free agency first. So free agency is the kickoff of the new league year for the most part, right when you have that moratorium right at the beginning. So do that. Like have that happen right after the NBA finals. Let teams make those decisions and then go into the draft. And it could in some ways it may even elevate the draft a little bit too because now you've had all sorts of player movement. Guys and teams are able to like we'd know if Malik Beasley's for sure on the roster or not by now. We'd know if they signed these stretch bigs that they continually get linked to. And then you'd come into the draft and you'd kind of go, okay, well, the roster holes that were there at the start, they're not quite there. So it kind of shifts the calculus a little bit. I think it could make for one, some interesting decisions team wise, but then two, more interesting TV as well, just from a viewership perspective. So I don't want to copy the NFL with everything, but I think that they've got the order of that correct. League year starts, free agency, then draft. But that fixes the hat thing as well, because if we're in the new league year, then boom, as soon as the trade's official, new hat, no problem.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too, but I was kind of like there has to be some reason that the draft is before. And the reason that comes to my head is like the league just wants to stay in the news. The finals just ended, then the draft, then free agency, but if you shuffle it around, like it could be the same thing. And yeah, it there are just so many issues with it. Like I with the free agency thing, I saw that VJ Edgecombe chose number 77 for the Sixers. And first of all, interesting number, but second of all, the I forget the jersey number guy who posts all. I think his name's like Etienne Kettle. I'm probably butchering that, but shout out to him. He does great work. And he pointed out that Edgecombe will probably take number 7 when Kyle Lowry leaves. And like that could be figured out if free agency was before. I'm not totally sure on like Kyle Lowry's contract situation or what have you, but it just doesn't make sense. And like it's confusing for fans, which is probably the biggest problem, but also these players that have worked their whole lives leading up to this moment, they're having this incredible moment, and then you like look back in a few years and you have your picture with Adam Silver that I know it would be a keepsake for me if I was drafted and you're just like wearing the totally wrong hat. It becomes kind of funny because then you get some of those Kobe Bryant wearing the Charlotte Hornets hat and like Luka Doncic with the Hawks and everything, but it's just so ridiculous.
I'm still a little caught up on VJ Edgecombe going to the 76ers and then wearing 77. Like 76, is right there in the name.
I wonder
Why?
if
You're
that's
so
like,
close.
yeah, is that like I wonder if anyone's ever worn that for the 76ers. Probably not.
That'd be funny.
Probably not
Someone
under
should. Someone should. It's right there. You could just be the team. Just be your own team. And then we got a couple of interesting points here in the comments. So same with moving back the draft. Free agency drags on. This is Fairland Pathfinder. Hopefully I said that right. Free agency drafts on as big name players debate which offer to take. That's true. So he says it would be messy to have the draft delayed on that. And then as well, Sean Haddock saying that owners have a lot of leverage the way it is now. That's all true. I get it. I would say that at least with the length of decisions for bigger name free agencies, if you push the draft to after free agency, those guys would have an incentive to make their choice quicker. So maybe it wouldn't be as long, but you still may run into the issue. It's going to be messy no matter what. I mean, it's a big change, but I'd like it. I think it'd be fun.
And by the way, Sean Bradley wore number 76 for the Philadelphia 76ers from
Is he the only
1994
one?
to 96. That's the only one. So
He's my
that's
hero.
The fun fact of the day.
That's my hero right there, Sean Bradley wearing the team on his back all the time. I love that. All right. The Pistons made a selection at 37. They didn't trade up. Both of us, we thought they were going to trade up. All right. We thought they were going to trade up maybe to the back of the first round. I personally, when looking at the guys that were available to start day 2, thought that they should probably try to move up a little bit to get one of the more premium players that I thought was left available on the board. Turns out 2 of them actually fell right into their laps, but they passed on them. Okay. So let's talk about Chaz Lanier. He's the shooting guard out of Tennessee. Fire 3-point shooter. He is a quick release, great off movement, not as much off the dribble. But what are your thoughts on the selection of Lanier, both in the context of where he got picked, who was on the board, and then we'll get into the player himself as well.
Yeah, I think when we had our pre-draft shows, we spent a little bit more time focusing on like stretch forwards, big men, which personally I would have leaned that way if I were the Pistons. I'm not shocked by the Lanier pick at all. Like a bunch of big outlets had Chaz Lanier going to the Pistons at that pick. And Trajan in his pre-draft presser said best player available. After they made the pick, he said that Chaz was the guy the whole time. So they loved him. I watched Chaz's. He had like the University of Tennessee posted a short presser with him after he was picked, and he was talking about his workout. He said it was a really good workout. He shot the crap out of the ball. So I'm not shocked, and I don't think like that is the only reason the Pistons decided to take him, but I understand the pick. Like personally, if I were the decision maker, I would have probably went a different way. But I think Chaz Lanier is definitely a player that Pistons fans can be excited about. Right when the pick was made, I think it was Shams. It might have been Jonathan Givony said the team plans to roster the pick, so you're not looking at like a two-way guy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Lanier was assigned to the Motor City Cruise to get some reps in there. But I think it's an interesting pick. You know, he just gives you more shooting depth, which I think is important. And especially as this team is trying to take the next step and get back to the playoffs and win a playoff series. Like we're seeing what's happening around the league with all these teams who are making bigger transactions. And when you do acquire those big players, like you need cheap depth that can contribute to your roster. And I think that that's what Lanier could be. Could he grow into more than that? Sure. And then just like as a player himself, we know what he does shooting. If the Pistons bring back Malik Beasley, I don't think there's a better player in the NBA for Chaz Lanier to learn under with how good of a movement shooter Malik Beasley is. Lanier is already good with that. So I kind of see him as a guy that Malik Beasley can take under his wing. We have some questions about Tim Hardaway Jr. and like what it means for him. So we'll talk about that later. And then the other thing that stuck out to me with Lanier is he spent 4 years at North Florida, transferred to Tennessee for his senior year. So I was like, is this pick kind of, or his prospect profile, I guess they're not the same player, but is he almost a Dalton Connect light? Like Dalton Connect had a very similar path. Yeah, I believe it was Northern Colorado or something before he went to Tennessee. And one of the things that Connect said after he was taken by the Lakers, or when he transferred to Tennessee, was he went there because to play under a solid defensive coach. His favorite player was KD, their coach KD, when he was in college. And that was something that Lanier brought up in his post-draft press conference too. Like going to Tennessee, one of the things for him, or one of the reasons he chose to go there, obviously it's a step up in competition, and he did great in his 1 year with Tennessee and proved he can do it at a bit bigger competition level. But this is a player who's not known for his defense by any means, but he knows that it's a priority and somewhere that he has to improve. And for a young player where there's not an immediate role carved out, like that's a way to get on the floor. Obviously shooting, which we know he can do, is another way for that. But I just like these like transfer guys that end up with at Tennessee. I think it's like a clear reason that they did that, and maybe that's something the Pistons took into account as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, like I am personally mixed on the pick itself, but like looking at just the player, there is a lot to like. Okay, there's a lot to like with Chaz Lanier, and I think there's a lot to get excited about if you're a Pistons fan. So look, you mentioned the shooting. This is a lights out shooter. He's a lights out shooter off the catch. He can do it off movement. He could do it a little bit off the dribble. And when I'm saying off the dribble, I'm saying more like coming off a curl and doing that one space dribble off to the side to get a little bit more space there from the defender, or like a 1 or 2 with just a screen out set in front of him as the ball handler to get a little bit of space to the side and hit the 3 over the top. He's got a little bit of issue there in the jump shot. It's a little bit of a set shot, and he kind of a little bit of a shot put thing. It's not quite Lonzo Ball bad, but it is off to the left side. He's a righty. It's off to the left side of his face to my eye. And that shows up a little bit when he's actually in the Sean Haddock saying Dalton Connect Light is not an interesting NBA player. Oh, that's sad. I like Dalton Connect
for now,
a lot,
maybe,
but I get it. I get it.
More.
Yeah, I get it. But no, so anyway, his form gives him a little bit of trouble off the dribble going downhill. So he wasn't a great mid-range shooter from what I've seen, the bit of tape that I've watched. He's a solid athlete, though. Nothing to blow you away. He's no Asar Thompson or Ron Holland or Jaden Ivey, but good enough athlete, good enough NBA athlete where he's got on tape some pretty creative finishes through traffic that I think are going to be able to show through. I mean, the mold of player to me that you're hoping he could eventually become is like a Tim Hardaway Jr. type, where there's just enough off the bounce there where if someone really closes out on him or is playing a little bit of lazy defense, he can actually get all the way to the rim and finish. Like he can make a play happen. That's something that we saw Tim Hardaway Jr. do all of last season. Always firing off the catch, coming off curls, coming off movement. And then every now and then he just like flashes a little poster dunk in there or a nice creative finish in transition. That's something that Lanier, I think, eventually can do. Downsides are, I mean, I think you brought it up, but not a good defender. He's not a good defender. Maybe the effort is there. I don't know if I could really speak to that one way or another, but seemed to me like there are a lot of mistakes, and he gets beat off the bounce quite a bit by quicker guys. He does have some athletic tools, so he's a little bit longer, good wingspan, and good height. 6'4", but he's not going to be a good defender, at least not right away. Maybe that's something he can fix. Maybe not. I mean, this is a fifth-year senior who wasn't a great defender. He's had a lot of time to fix that issue, and it hasn't gone away yet. But does seem like a good communicator. And from everybody, everywhere that you read, everyone that has talked to him or met this kid as a person just raves about his work ethic and the drive and the character element of him, what makes him a player. So all of that, I think, makes a really interesting package for a second round guy, right? You're in the second round, you've got kind of two philosophies. You could either be drafting for just sheer potential that maybe has slipped. You're just going to take a total swing and see if maybe a guy who is just very raw and doesn't have it right now could eventually put it together. Or you could do what the Pistons just did, and that's draft a guy that has an NBA skill right now, and then just about nothing else. So Chaz Lanier is an NBA shooter. You have 5 years of proof that he is an NBA floor spacer. He's shooting it from deep, off the catch, off movement, and then every now and then a little bit off the dribble. Right? He's doing all of that. That's bankable. You can trust that that's going to come with him day one. Everything else, I think, we'll probably need to pump the brakes. Like I've seen a little bit of, well, maybe this gives him leverage, give the Pistons leverage on Malik Beasley. Maybe this is a Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement. To me, I'm looking more as like, this is Lindy Waters' replacement for now. Like I'd pump the brakes a little bit on thinking this is actually going to be a rotation player. We had that same conversation last year with Bobby Klintman, and that's not how that played out either. And we're, fingers crossed that he maybe can crack the rotation this year. So at the end of the day, this is a second round guy. So I think you're spot on thinking, hey, this is depth. This is cheap depth that can go in and space the floor, which you need. You need that stuff for injury purposes or trade purposes, whatever you want to do down the line gives you flexibility. I don't think he's going to play right away. Mimsy 313 is bringing up Marcus Sasser. Sean is too. This is not Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, player to player right now, is better than Chaz Lanier. And it's my book, not remotely close. Yeah, just from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you brought up Lindy Waters because that was the same exact thought that I had, honestly, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like, I think that's a pretty good NBA player with a very small role that you're looking at for a guy who was just chosen in the second round with the 37th pick. And Langdon said after the draft, he was asked about moving up into the back half of the first round or towards the end. And he said the price was higher than ever. And it sounded like moving up for Lanier specifically was something that the Pistons considered. So if he was their guy the whole time, I guess you can consider it a win that they didn't just leap at that chance and give up any additional draft capital or any other assets of value to go and get their guy. He kind of fell into their laps. But yeah, I'm not really looking at him as a draft pick that someone who's necessarily going to impact the night in, night out rotation from day one. Could he be that guy eventually? Maybe. We know he's a 5-year player. He's an older guy coming in who is probably more ready than a lot of other guys in this class. And he's actually, I think it might have been Omari who tweeted it out. He's older than a bunch of players that are already on the Pistons roster and have been for a while. So I think it just fits, and it makes sense. Personally, again, I probably would have drafted someone else, someone with more size, maybe get some front court depth. But you can't be mad at going to get a lights out shooter who maybe has a conversation or his name in the hat as one of the best shooters in this draft.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got a good claim to that. I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to like pump the brakes on some excitement, and that maybe that's making it
Mm.
seem like there's nothing to be excited about with the pick. I'm more just saying, look what Bobby Clinton did last year, being on an NBA roster as a second round pick, even though he really didn't play, was actually really good for most second round picks in their rookie year. Like the fact that he was bouncing back and forth between the G League and the main roster on a team that was a playoff team, was competitive. That's the expectation for like the high end, really expectation for these second round guys. You're drafting them more as insurance for the now, and then you're hoping, hey, maybe this guy, like with Lanier, maybe in a couple of years, 1 or 2 years, he can be your fourth guard, just as a guy who can really space the floor, gives you good enough effort on defense, and then just has enough off the bounce juice to be a threat every now and then when he gets overplayed. If he can take all of that stuff and scale it up to the NBA, that's what he's going to be. Like, this is a very safe pick because in my estimation, the worst case outcome is something along the lines of a Lindy Waters, where he's your 14th or 15th guy. And if he has to get in the game, he'll knock down some threes. Like, it's not going to kill you. It's not like the worst guy in the league, getting minutes or anything like that. He's solid. This is an NBA player. It's just that he's not right away going to be a rotation guy. And I think we'll be setting ourselves up for disappointment if that's what we want. But if we could not want that, maybe scale it back and just hope, like you said, he's on the roster, he's traveling to games, they use him every now and then as a depth piece. That would be a big win for him. And if he can work on the finishing a little bit, work on the ball handling, and adjust to the speed of the game over his rookie year, I think maybe next year you could be looking at Lanier as a guy that maybe gets some minutes, and that would be a big win, I think, for the team, just with a cost controlled asset like that who could space the floor.
Yeah, and it's like a low risk move. I mean, they own this pick,
Yeah, very
and
safe.
it didn't seem like it seemed like they wanted this player, like they weren't trying to trade out or anything like that. And there is value trading up to the first round for a player to get that extra year on the contract. But even when you think about how the Pistons didn't do that, they stayed put. They took him in the second round. It just makes it more low risk. Like, you don't need him to contribute right away. If he does, it's a nice benefit. And I get all the excitement because I think that the Pistons specifically, there have been so many years where we can look back at who the team took in the second round or later in the draft, and just be like, that didn't really provide much value. And especially in this year, where is the first year in however many years that we haven't been selecting at the top of the draft. Like, this is what we were, the team didn't make a single move. They just stayed put, and they made their pick with the one pick that they have, which, I mean, maybe there was a deal out there where they could have acquired some assets, jumped in on a trade, but there weren't as many trades as I was expecting. Like, there were a lot of draft pick trades, but other than Mark Williams, we didn't see like really any player movement. I thought we would have saw some of that around the draft. So I think obviously we can't really grade it yet until we see what happens, what the team's role is for Lanier immediately, and then what it is in the future. But I think it's a win right now, and they come away with a player who could very well make some impact on the roster, even if right away it's not a huge impact by any means.
You know what I absolutely love about this pick? And truthfully, not even just the pick, but every whisper of a rumor that we have gotten out of the Pistons organization leading into the offseason since they got eliminated from the playoffs. What I absolutely love is that they want spacing. Man, they are serious about floor spacing. They just drafted in Chaz Lanier one of, if not the best shooter in the draft. He has 5 years of ridiculous volume production from three, and it carried over when he made the transfer over to a bigger program in Tennessee. So that did not change. He's got a quick trigger off the catch. And the one thing you just can't question about the kid is if he could shoot the ball. So they've got this depth now. They bring in a guy that's an elite shooter, hopefully an elite shooter right away, and that can step in if they need to. And then every free agency rumor we've gotten, it's like Miles Turner, Santi Aldama, Naz Reid. There's another one that just came out with John Collins. If the Utah Jazz make him available, watch the Pistons. Maybe they'd be interested in something like that. Like, this team saw what happened last year, where with Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Tobias Harris, and Cade taking a bit of a step, they finally, for the first time in Cade Cunningham's career, leapt into the middle of the pack. They were an average three-point shooting team last season. And you saw the success that they had. And so by all accounts, it seems to me that they see that and they want to double down on it, which is absolutely the right move. Like, let's go from average to above average. Let's see what this team and what these young guys can do with even more shooting, even more floor spacing at any position we can upgrade it at. I absolutely love that approach to this offseason. And I'm, fingers crossed that that's actually the direction that this goes. Because, like, if you could keep Beasley, maybe you keep Tim Hardaway Jr., you bring in a guy like Chaz Lanier, so if anybody goes down, you've got this elite shooter just waiting in the wings that can step in and knock some down for you. You've still got Marcus Sasser right now, unless there's going to be a trade made. And maybe you bring in a big that can space the floor a little bit as well, and you ask Isaiah Stewart to take maybe 2 to 3 a game. Just don't pop off of pick and roll. Just take him as like a trail man or naturally on some swings when you're open. And if you could just bump that up to above average, how much better does Cade look? How much better does Ivy look? Asar, like, just down the list, right? I think it's extremely exciting. I love the approach.
Yeah, you just can never have enough guys who can shoot, and it seemed like in the previous regime, like, it wasn't really prioritized in the sense that it should have been. So it's nice to see those moves being made now. And what I think is interesting about the archetype of player that they went with, like I've said many times already, I would have opted to go for someone with size that could help out in the front court, ideally could shoot a little bit. Like if it was Maxime Reynaud or Markovic or whoever it was, we could say all the same things about like impact on the rotation about those players that we are about Lanier, and the fact that they didn't go that way in the draft. Like, maybe it means that some of these rumors that we're hearing about the team targeting a stretch big or a forward that can shoot in free agency, or whether it ends up being via trade, if that actually happens, like, I guess it makes sense. Maybe the draft strategy, like, wasn't that in depth. Like Trajan Langdon said himself, the team is taking the best player available where they were sitting in the draft. But it does just make you think a little bit.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd say to that is, look, Lanier is maybe, it was either him or Kobe Brea. All right, either Chaz Lanier or Kobe Brea were the safest specialist bet at that point in the draft. Like, Reynaud's a good shooter. Seems like there's a lot of skill there. I was really intrigued. I know you were as well. But there was still quite a few question marks on not only just the type of player he is, but where the skill level is right now. How's that going to translate to the league? And, does he play? And how high is that ceiling actually, right? How high is it really? Same thing with Markovic. Like, Markovic has all the skill in the world, rail thin. You would need to really work him in the weight room and really get him up to NBA strength and conditioning levels in order for that skill to actually show up in games. So if you're the Pistons and you're sitting down there at pick 37 and you're thinking, look, we just need a guy that can do something. Like, we know that there's some bankable skill set here. You're immediately looking at specialists. So that's immediately jumping into we're looking at one-trick ponies. And Kobe Brea and Chaz Lanier were probably the best shooters, certainly the best shooters available, possibly even the best shooters in the draft. They're guys that they're not going to do that much else, okay? But they can shoot the dang basketball. They'll shoot the leather off of it. And that's awesome. You need specialists. You cannot have enough 3-point shooting specialists down at the end of your bench. So that's the way that they went. And I mean, like we said, you and I, we've alluded, I think we probably both of us would have taken Reno. Even with that, Chaz Lanier is a good pick. I see the vision with the pick. I see the idea here, and I like it. I like the thought process of bringing in a guy that is a surefire floor spacer day one. And ideally, you don't have to rely on him. But if you ever did, right, you bring Malik Beasley back and he goes down, or whoever's the backup point guard goes down, and you got to elevate and shift a couple other roster spots around in the rotation to make that work. Like, if he ever needs to play his rookie year, he's going to space the floor. And with this team, with guys like Cade, Ivy, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, they need that. Ron Holland too. They need guys that if they have to step in a pinch, at a minimum, they're going to shoot the basketball well. And you just got that with Chaz Lanier. I think that's fantastic. That's really good value out of this pick, even if the upside maybe isn't all that high.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a decent move for this team to take, especially with where they are now. If this was a year ago, same draft position, you're coming off a horrendous season, like maybe I could have said that just go with the player with the most upside, who's a complete project, like a Rocco Zikarsky, for example. And like the Reno thing too, like, yeah, if it was me, that probably would have been the pick for me. But like, he fell a lot further than I was expecting him to in this draft. Maybe there's something behind the scenes that I'm not 100% on, like that I'm not seeing. But overall, like, I think it's fine. It's not like this pick is going to make or break where this team is headed, but 100%, like, should you be trying to get someone who can make an impact on this roster and like fills a role on a cheap contract right now, and if he re-signs a new contract, probably a cheap contract in the future too. We saw with every team who made a deep run in the playoffs, like they have those guys, and it would just be nice for the Pistons to get those type of players on those type of deals in house. And I think that Lanier does fit that role.
And I think that's the thing that makes, to me, the most sense about this, because look, I would have I like taking the upside swings, but we got to be honest and point out that the upside swings in the second round rarely, if ever, hit. You're a much safer bet is getting a guy with an NBA skill, or maybe 2 NBA skills, and just relying on that translating to the league. And now you've got a nice end of the bench, kind of maybe solid rotation piece one day in the future if you can kind of help and nurture that development process. And there's a lot of success with that. I mean, look at, I'm trying to think of the player for the Pacers that pops in when Mathern's getting hurt, or Ben Shepherd.
The rookie. Oh yeah.
No, Ben Shepherd. A guy like that, who Shepherd's a bit better of a defender, I think, than Lanier is, but to have a guy like that on the end of your bench where he's an NBA player, that's an NBA player that can come in and give you solid minutes if you need it from him. I think that's the vision here with Chaz Lanier right away, at least during the duration of this rookie contract. And again, like, I just think it makes a lot of sense given where this team is. They want to be not only better than they were last year, but they want to justify that last season wasn't a fluke, right? This is the kind of pick that helps with that. And so I'm on board, even though it wouldn't have been my personal selection there. Let's hit a couple of questions here. I thought this was an interesting one, kind of revisiting the Quentin Grimes trade. So this is at It's Des 1986 on Twitter. It says, what are your thoughts on the Quentin Grimes trade now that the other part of it has been completed? So the full package, Tim Hardaway Jr., Chaz Lanier, and then 2 second-round picks in 2028 for Quentin Grimes?
I mean, hey, like we know that this deal was a salary dump for the Mavs to get off of Tim Hardaway Jr. And we know that what Quentin Grimes did when he ended up in Philadelphia at the end of the season, when the team was kind of, I mean, Embiid was shut down, Maxey was hurt, McCain was hurt. We know what Quentin Grimes did, and definitely as a Pistons fan watching that, you can think like, what if? Why did the Pistons give him up in that trade? He could have contributed to this roster, but like honestly, even if Lanier was like the pick that the Pistons ended up using for Lanier wasn't included in on this deal, I think it's a win for Detroit. Like Tim Hardaway Jr., yes, he had his ups and downs, but I think he was pretty big for this team at points over last season. We'll see what happens if he stays in Detroit this year and in the future. But you get a player like that who was a decent piece in making this incredible jump that your team made last year. And then you also get some future draft capital that it's 2028. Those picks won't be used for a long time, but you can use those in trades, whatever they might be, sort of stocking up that cabinet. And you get a player that contributed to your roster. And now you have this other pick who we're just talking about how he can make an impact for this team as well. Totally had different, like opposite phases of their career. So when you think about it from that lens, and like, if you think about the trade specifically, like Quentin Grimes isn't even on the Dallas Mavericks anymore. So if we're just talking about who won or lost this trade, I get the argument that like, why did the Pistons include Grimes? Like, honestly, I would have liked if they kept him. I don't know if they really had to give him up in that deal just because the Mavs were trying to get off a Tim Hardaway Jr. salary. But it, like, I think it's fine. I don't think the what if of like, what if Quentin Grimes was still on this roster should keep anyone up at night. And yeah, Sean brings up in the chat, like, no need to give up a young player in that deal because we were giving Dallas a favor. That's totally true. And also, Chili Damon's kind of bringing it up too. The other point I was going to make is we heard those rumblings that Grimes didn't really want to be in Detroit. He didn't like the role. And we saw how tight-knit this whole Pistons group was last season. And I don't think if Quentin Grimes was around, he would have messed with that. But I guess in general, like I'm just not losing sleep over the Pistons giving up Quentin Grimes in the deal.
I'm not either. And I only want to add two things because I agree with every single word that you just brought up there. The first is just that I don't think we could put a price on the value that Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Malik Beasley all brought off and on the court. And I'm not talking about the actual like made shots or stats or anything like that, but just the fact that you took a team that really had next to no veteran leadership, and then you added three guys that not only were leaders in the locker room, but also were net positive players on the court for big minutes every single night. And I think we can all agree, just looking back on how this season played out, that was a incredibly calming presence for these younger players. Even Cade Cunningham, I think you could make a strong argument, needed a little bit of that so that the roller coaster maybe just was a little calmer instead of so many highs and so many lows, just a little bit smoother of a ride. So I don't think we could put a value on that. So I think even to a player, Tim Hardaway Jr. brought something that Grimes could not have brought, even though Grimes is absolutely a better basketball player than Tim Hardaway Jr. at this point in the career. But the other thing I want to throw out here, and it's really simple. I don't think this trade is over. Talk to me when Quentin Grimes gets an extension. What's that number at? That's what I want to know. If you could have Quentin Grimes for MLE or less, okay. I think I might change my tune just a little bit. But with the way that he played in Dallas and then later on in Philly, you have to wonder if it's going to be a bigger number. And I don't know if I'd really want Grimes at much bigger a number and much more of a role than what he was playing in Dallas and would have played in Detroit if he stuck around. So I think you're really looking at Tim Hardaway Jr., Chaz Lanier, two 2028 second round picks for a guy that they weren't likely to keep after this season, and that wasn't going to be in as featured of a role as he was in both Dallas and in Philadelphia. I wonder if even from Grimes' perspective, if all of this turns out a little bit differently, if he's forced to stay in Detroit. I don't know if he would have had the opportunity to do what he did. I kind of wonder if this is just a win-win, honestly.
Yeah, and he's gonna be he is a restricted free agent, so like we don't know what his future looks like. So that'll be interesting when we see what happens with Grimes and whether he stays in Philly. I mean, they have an interesting guard room now, like especially after adding VJ Edgecombe in the draft. And like their future to me is Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and now VJ Edgecombe. So if Grimes can get more elsewhere, maybe he's not even back there. And yeah, it could have went differently. Like I can understand wanting to get more value, like Sean's bringing up in the chat, just getting more value out of Grimes when you deal him. I think that's a totally fair point, but maybe it wasn't out there. Like he did not have a good stint in Detroit for the small amount of games he played there. So I think it's okay. Like when Quentin Grimes is going off for a lot of points when everyone else is sitting, I totally get the what if, and that would have been a nice piece to have. Maybe we didn't need to give him up in that deal, but yeah, it's kind of just like a done deal at this point, and I'm not super upset about it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be losing sleep over Quentin Grimes. I'm glad that he rehabbed his value a bit, especially after the tough injury luck he had been having. So happy for the player.
Mm-hmm.
Very happy to have gotten Tim Hardaway Jr. in Detroit, though. So I'm good with that as well. Speaking of Tim Hardaway Jr., this is as well from at It's Des 1986. Oh yeah, this was his two-part question. That's right. That's right. Do you think that drafting Chaz Lanier is more likely now that Tim Hardaway Jr.'s days in Detroit are numbered?
I mean, personally, so Tim Hardaway Jr. is an unrestricted free agent, so we'll find out if he resigns in Detroit or what his future holds in the near future here. I don't think this draft pick should have like any impact or change anything about bringing Tim Hardaway Jr. back or not, because what we were talking about earlier, like we both see Chaz Lanier immediately filling maybe more of a Lindy Waters role than a Tim Hardaway Jr. role. Tim Hardaway Jr. started a lot of games for this team last year. I don't think Chaz Lanier is anywhere close to that. I get I get it from the standpoint of like this is a younger player who has a similar skill set. Do you need to spend some money to bring back this player who's going to be 33 years old next season? We know he's had concerns before, had a bounce back year in Detroit, and contributed in the playoffs a bit. Like that was the big thing with him in Dallas. So I don't think it should change the Pistons strategy with Tim Hardaway Jr. at all. I think it's more of a matter of like, will he sign a veteran minimum to return here? Like we've heard more rumblings of Malik Beasley wanting to stay here. And I mean, he definitely deserves a lot more money than Tim Hardaway Jr. does, but I just see where Lanier is and the type of player that THJ is. Like, I don't think it should have any impact on the other move necessarily.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Look, if this is overly simplistic, but under the larger umbrella of oversimplifying, this is generally true. Look, if Chaz Lanier were a fifth year senior who was ready made to step into an NBA rotation right now, this very second, he would have been a first round pick. Those guys get picked in the first round. It is very rare. It's very unlikely for a second round pick to be that NBA ready. So he's certainly more NBA ready than someone who was maybe a little bit younger than him, right? Not as physically developed, because you're not worried about that with Lanier. He's got a strong frame and he's a solid athlete, so you're not worried about that element of this transition. It's more the speed and the just the ins and outs of being in playing in the NBA level that he's going to have to work on. But if he really were that ready, where you could look at this and go, oh, well, now they don't need Tim Hardaway Jr., he wouldn't have been available at 37. So I still think that this means you would like to have Tim Hardaway Jr. back. I know we've got Ron Holland hopefully taking a big step forward. You got Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey's coming back healthy, and we're all wondering, where would Tim Hardaway Jr. play if you bring him back? I don't care. I'd like to bring back a guy who has his skill set and can do what he can do at the level he can do it. I'm talking, we've talked about before the fact that if you lose Tim Hardaway Jr., you lose a large quantity of your movement shooting that really only Malik Beasley and now maybe Chaz Lanier can actually fill that role. So even if you bring Tim Hardaway Jr. back, it's something on the vet minimum, which would be awesome in my opinion. And he doesn't play a ton, but is just a gunner that plays, less than 10 minutes a night. Maybe kind of just swap him for Tech or something, right? Just have him take those minutes. I'm cool with that. I would actually prefer that sort of outcome. But yeah, like Chaz Lanier's just not ready. He he can't be. It seems it's so unlikely that he would actually be able to factor into this conversation right now, right after the draft. Maybe next year, right? Like if you've got THJ on a minimum contract, it's just a 1-year deal, and Lanier's spent all the year learning, growing, improving as a player, and now you can say, okay, this is our guy for that role moving forward. Perfect. That would be a great outcome here, but not right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So I don't, and yeah, Hardaway, if he returns to Detroit, will probably almost like 100% have a different role. He's getting older. The Jaden Ivey's coming
You
back,
don't think
and
he'll be the starting small forward on game one?
I don't think so unless something is hopefully nothing goes wrong, essentially. Like, and I think that's totally okay. And I wonder if he will be fine accepting a role with that. Like, he had a successful season in Detroit. He's not getting any younger. Like, hopefully he doesn't fall off a cliff by any means. I think that was more of the concern when Detroit traded for him last year, but just the fact that he wasn't like the Pistons taking on dead money essentially with a player that doesn't contribute at all. Like, Tim Hardaway Jr. made a big impact. So I think if you can bring that player back for a minimum deal or not that much more than that, and he slides a little bit down the rotation, I just think that's the most likely path forward, honestly.
Yeah, I would be a big fan of that path forward. To be completely honest. All right, let's end up with this one. Kind of I think it was more of like a jokey question, but I think it's kind of fun anyway. So let's just take it. This is Sean Haddix in the live chat. It says Lakers jumped ahead of us to get Max Christie in 2022. This year they jumped in front of us to get Adu Thiero. Do we have a mole in the building, Blake?
I don't know. Like, I don't think so. And like, just from what Langdon said, like, the read I get is that Lanier was the guy all along. Like, maybe there were some Thiero fans in the front office. He ends up going a pick ahead of where the Pistons are taken. So, like, maybe the Lakers thought that the Pistons were interested in him, but like I think if both those players were on the board, like the pick probably was still going to be the same. And like I got the idea from what Langdon said that if the price was low enough, the team would have been comfortable trading into the last few picks of the first round to take Lanier. So I just think that was their guy. They got their guy. Maybe they would have considered Thiero, but I don't think so, thankfully.
May I present an alternative theory? I think,
Please.
yeah, I caught you right as you were taking a drink, and that's my bad. That's bad.
Yeah, almost
I
had a
didn't notice
coughing
it.
attack, which is like the worst thing when you're live, but we're all good.
These are the perks of doing a live show. All of you get to enjoy this with us. I think I'm looking at who picked after the Pistons. You got the Spurs, the Raptors, and the Wizards. And look, I think that if Adu Thiero is on the board at 39 for the Raptors, do you?
Yeah, he's a
I mean,
Raptor. Like
that's
that's
the
what I was
pick.
gonna
Yeah,
say.
absolutely, that's the pick for Toronto. And they just let go Masai Ujiri. So yeah, maybe they didn't love the draft, I guess. But well, I think if Adu Thiero is sitting there at 39, then that would just be the most Raptors pick in the history of
Yeah.
Raptors picks, especially with the draft that they had already had. So my guess is the Lakers wanted to get ahead of the Raptors. The Spurs didn't want to move, and the Pistons didn't want to move back.
Mm-hmm.
So the Nets had a bunch of picks in the first round that they took all of for some reason. And at 36, we're probably very willing to move back or just out in general. So there you go. That's why they ended up going up to the Nets pick to take Adu Thiero. That's my best guess. I as funny as it would be to have a mole in the Pistons building for the Lakers, I think this is just a convenient way to jump the Raptors from taking a Raptors guy.
Yeah, I think that's so. And the Raptors, funnily enough, already took a Raptors guy with Colin Murray Boyles in the first round. So yeah, that's what I was thinking too when you were going
They
through the
just love
teams.
those athletic, long, non-shooting forwards.
Yeah,
That's
just
what they want.
be super tall and a little versatile and yeah, I really thought the Raptors were going to take Noah Singay, especially after he was like, oh, I see myself as a Pascal Siakam, a Kawhi Leonard, or whatever he said. So yeah, I'm with you there. I'm trying to remember the Max Christie draft. Like, who did the Pistons take? Because I don't remember hearing much buzz after or before that the Pistons were like interested or liked him at all.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing any connection to Christie either. I'm
It
trying
was
to
the
think, was
Cade
this?
draft.
Yeah. So who would that be then?
The Piston, I believe that was when they got
Was that
Isaiah
Livers?
Livers and Luca
Yeah.
Garza. So
Garza. That's right. He's still kicking around in the league. Love it.
yeah, yeah, he's been on some pretty good teams. Or wait, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Or Google lied to me. I guess what year was Christie drafted?
Was it not
It was
2022?
it was it was 2022, and I was looking at 2021. I saw a 2021 scouting
Oh.
report. That's totally on me. So that would have been the next year when.
Sean Haddix is saying we took Proshita.
Yep. Okay. One pick after. Yeah. So and we know how that went. So yeah, maybe if Christie was there, that would have been the pick too. But different regime. We don't know.
Yeah. Nah. Oh well. We can move on. But all right, Blake. I think we could kind of call it here. So
Can
do
I
you
say
have
one
any
more
final
thing
thoughts?
about
Yeah.
the one that, and I think the biggest win, like we spent a ton of time on Chaz Lanier, like rightfully as we should have, but I think the biggest win for the Pistons in this draft is that pick that they owed finally conveyed that
Yeah.
really hampered them and restricted them because of the Stepien rule to deal any of their future first round picks. So I think that's like, I get it. It's not like an exciting takeaway from this draft, but and I don't think the Pistons are necessarily on the precipice of making a big move involving multiple of their future first round picks, but the fact that they have that flexibility now, Langdon has preached just wanting to remain flexible, which might mean not trading any of your future draft picks, but you finally get that behind you, especially in a draft where in the range where the Pistons were going to be taken, or drafting, like I don't they could have gotten a player who maybe contributed to the rotation a little bit more than what we're thinking of with Lanier. The Pistons pick was used on Johan Berenger, so that there was Walton Clayton Jr. went right after Kasparis, Yakachonis, Will Riley, Traore. So yeah, interesting players, but like I'm not super upset that the Pistons missed out on any of those guys. So I think that's the biggest win of this draft for me. You conveyed that pick, and you didn't. Hopefully, you can still take a step back. We're going to see a lot of what the team is going to look like in the future with free agency coming up, and then you have all your picks in the treasure chest still, if there is that deal that presents itself.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, just to have the optionality, right? Where if something were to strike, like you can actually make the move. If there's actually a deal there that's fantastic from a value perspective, you can do it now. Where they couldn't trade, I think, any
No.
first round pick there for a while because of the protections on that thing. So the fact that they got to avoid it, they now have all of their first round picks moving forwards, and they can make a move if they want. They could not and just take the picks. The flexibility there is great. So I'm with you. I think that, and the fact that this team is clearly serious about floor spacing and taking, I would hope, taking that from a average level to a real strength and trying to see what the roster looks like with that in their back pocket. I'm I'm very happy with this draft, even though I may not have made the actual selection that the Pistons made. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get the logic, and I really like the approach as far as I can see it right now. So this has me extremely excited for the offseason, for free agency, for eventually, coming into training camp and getting the preseason started, and getting this hopefully follow up, a great season and follow up going for Detroit.
Yeah, it seems like the wide consensus is the fan base is believing in what the front office is doing, which is nice. You didn't trade up a bunch of capital to move up for guys
Yeah.
from the DC area, and all the crazy trades. You don't have an Ace Bailey situation on your
Can I
hands,
can I
so
just ask, why was Pistons Twitter blaming Troy Weaver for the Pelicans thing?
the
I like,
trade.
yeah. Everyone was taking
What
victory
was
laps on Troy Weaver for the Pelicans, moving up to take Derek Queen and from Maryland, and but it was Dumars, and that's a former Piston connection. You go make fun of Dumars.
Yeah, it is interesting because like Weaver's strong suit was always drafting, so it is
Yeah,
interesting. Like we don't know the decision. Like obviously Dumars should be the final stamp of approval, but like they go up for Queen, sign Hunter Dickinson to a undrafted free agent contract. He traded for Sadiq Bey. Like it is
I mean,
funny.
I get it. I do. Like I get that the connections are all there, and it is comical. It is funny. But like, someone had to sign off on that. It's not his show.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I just found that funny. The
yeah,
equivalent would be like making taking victory laps that a team made really dumb decisions because we know their assistant GM is like bad or something like that. Like that was how it looked to me. I'm like, what has he got to do with this? He probably had a lot to do with the Derek Queen pick. I'll give you that. How they got there though, that's Joe D.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'd love to know the behind the scenes. Like maybe Dumars is like Troy, just like do the draft. I'll like approve everything. I don't know. Like I guess it is more interesting now that Weaver has like a general manager title again. So I get it's fun. Yeah. Poor
It's
Pelicans.
all good fun. It's fine. Yeah, poor Pelicans.
Fears and Queen are like fun players to take away, but they did give up a lot. So that is interesting. It was a fun draft, even if it wasn't like super high, getting super high end talent for the Pistons. I enjoyed it. I think it's good, and overall the fan base seems to be on the same page with what the front office is doing. So that's fun.
See, and then this is the last thing, because we're totally off the rails now. So this is the last thing I say, and then we can close it out. You can respond. We'll wrap it up. But it's just hilarious to me that the two most confusing teams were completely polar opposites in their strategies. So yeah, the Pelicans just like whatever it takes. We're moving up. We're getting our guy. We're being aggressive. We're sacrificing future first round picks. We're doing whatever we can. We have to do what we can to get these guys right now. And then you have the Nets just like, we got 5 picks. No one thinks we wants the 5 picks. We want all of these picks. And you know what? We're going to take like 3 guards for some reason. And we're going to try to develop all of them at the same, like it was just, you had on the one side, the invest all the picks to trade up and go get the guys that we want. And then on the other side, we have a million picks. And we're not going to do the sensible thing of packaging them to try and trade. We're gonna fire all the bullets. Let's see what we could get with Igor Saraf and Traore. Like this is going to be great.
Yeah, I saw someone mention like it was just the kind of like the spray and pray method. Like one of these guys have to hit. And what's funny about it to me is like those 3 guards are like some of the guards that I like the most, especially. Maybe not coming right up into the draft because they all had different seasons that didn't do great things for their stock, but I think they're good players like individually, but when you put it together, it's like, how does it work? I hope the best for all those guys because I think they're all intriguing, but yeah, it's interesting. The Jazz had an interesting draft too. We'll see what happens with the Ace base.
Shout out to the Blazers for reaching for a guy I really like, Hansen Yang, but then sticking him in a room that has DeAndre Ayton, Donovan Clingan, Tamari Kamara, and Robert Williams.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hopefully it's just like Clingan and Yang because I can get the Clingan Yang, like Clingan more defensive first, Yang like a offensive-y center. So if those are your 2 bigs,
they cannot play together though. Like no, they cannot play together.
It's that was I kind of love that pick, but yeah, I mean, we were talking about Yang.
I actually really like Hansen Yang, the player. I was a big fan of his. I liked him a lot at 37 for the Pistons. I was kind of confused why he was getting mocked so low so often.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was a terrible reach. It was just funny that they've got a million centers now, all of them fairly invested in.
Yeah.
Andrew Holiday.
100. Yeah, it'll be a fun team to watch. We'll see what happens there. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Got a little generic draft talk at the end because the most interesting things did not really involve the Pistons, which I guess is good. Like it was a solid draft, like nothing crazy, but should make the team better a little bit, which is all you can ask for. But reminder to everyone listening, you can call our phone line to ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to our guy Sean Court, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting this show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week.